Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be talking about Genesis X2, which is a crazy rebrand, by the way. I just want to say that now, like, is the next one Genesis X3 or Genesis 12, or are we just done? Like, I don't know, but regardless, this event is as stacked as big events can be, and for your top 16 seeds you're going to have Zomba, Gluttony, Crêpe Soleil, and Cola in 13th. Lima, Reru, Snow, and MKLeo in 9th. In 7th place, you got Tweak and Shootone. 5th place is Hurt and Light. 4th place is Sonic. 3rd place is Mia. 2nd place is Akola. And projected to win the entire thing is Spargo. My first matchup is going to be Spargo versus Toraguri, and I do think that Spargo should win this one, but it should be noted they played once and Toraguri did come out on top. Now, to be fair, I think since then, people have been a lot more aware of this player. They know that he's actually a real threat, not just a gimmicky mid-tier player, and because of that, I think Spargo is going to be a lot more prepared for this Banjo matchup. I also think it's a matchup where Cloud absolutely wins it, so it really is, I think, matchup unfamiliarity that got Spargo the first time, and I don't think it's going to get him this time around. So I do expect Spargo to win that one, but should be a giga banger set. It's always such a blast to watch TG play. Then you're going to have Crêpe Soleil versus Teen. I would definitely expect Crêpe Soleil to win this one. I think Steve Pac-Man is really difficult for Pac-Man. It's just an absolute nightmare for him to break the blocks or really do anything in that matchup, because you have Pac-Man Hydrant, which is great, but, you know, Steve has like 6 hydrants he can put out whenever he wants, literally in the air as well, and it stays there. So tough matchup. Almost certainly going to be the Kazuya out of T here, but I don't think the Kazuya is going to be able to get the trick done. I also don't think Kazuya does great against Steve. Definitely better than Pac-Man, but it's still an uphill battle regardless. So Crêpe Soleil should be winning that one. Then you're going to have Spargo versus Crêpe Soleil, and Spargo should win this. Like, absolutely, Spargo should win this. It's Spargo. He's Cloud against Steve. Presumably, Crêpe Soleil is going to go Wario. I'd actually be kind of shocked if he ended up going Cloud in this match, because I actually think that Wario has at least some tools against Cloud. Like, your edge guarding is really good. You've got great aerial ability. Yeah, you're super stubby, but at least you can weave in and out. What I'm trying to say here is that Crêpe Soleil is probably going to play Wario. He's probably still going to lose, but there's definitely a chance. This guy is absolutely legit, and he could pull it off. Next up is going to be Tweak versus Riddles, and I would expect Tweak to win this one. He's won their last 3 encounters, but Riddles has picked up Steve. Now, I don't think that Riddles' 3 or 2 week Steve is going to be good enough to beat Tweak, but that is a character you struggled with in the past. Definitely something to consider, and it is a better matchup for Riddles than either Kazuya or Terry. Terry is almost 100% going to be the choice, by the way, just so he has that extra mobility to keep up with Diddy Kong, but I do think that Tweak is going to come on top. Then you're going to have Reru versus Beast Mode Paul. And I think Beast Mode Paul is going to make the big upset right here. Reru and Aka have played twice, and Aka actually ended up winning both of those sets, and that's with Reru being able to read the menu, so that's a huge advantage into Beast Mode's favor, and without that advantage, you still have the matchup being really good for Hero, in my opinion. You have a sword just in general to disjoint Luigi, but your spells are going to be really good for getting in his face. The slashes are super hard for Luigi. I just don't know how Luigi is supposed to get in against you, especially when he can't read the menu, so I do think Beast Mode Paul should win that one, and I also think that Beast Mode Paul is going to carry that momentum into his win over Tweak. He's only ended up playing against Tweak one time before, but he ended up coming out on top. I believe it was at the Lit Invitational. And to Tweak's credit, I do think the hardest time to fight Beast Mode Paul would probably be the first time you play, because it's like a hero player that's actually thinking and spacing. I don't know what to do with myself, but Tweak should have a little bit more time, a little bit more practice in this matchup, but I just frankly don't think that it is going to be enough. Tweak plays a very slow style of Smash Ultimate, kind of lets the opponent make mistakes, and he capitalizes on them. I just don't think that's the correct way to play against Hero. I think Tweak is going to need a little bit of a change-up in his game plan, and I think that unless he has a perfect game plan for Hero, Beast Mode Paul is going to be able to capitalize on every little mistake that he makes, and I also think that Tweak would maybe just get more tilted than some of the other top players would be if he got cheesed by some RNG. All factors that you have to consider when playing against Hero, so I do think that Beast Mode Paul is going to take that upset. Then you got Spargo versus Beast Mode Paul, and I do think that Spargo should come out on top here. I always say that when it's Spargo versus another Swordy player, yeah, I just expect Spargo to win. Now, to be fair to Beast Mode Paul, he's also got magic, and Spargo doesn't have too much magic, but I do think that in general, Spargo's spacing, and more importantly, his reactions are going to be good enough that even if Beast Mode Paul is pulling up tricky stuff with the menu, he's just not going to be caught off guard. Our next matchup is going to be Sonics versus Taike, and it's Sonics versus another Sonic player. So, unfortunately, that's where the conversation just kind of ends. Sorry, Taike. Then you're going to have Cola versus Raflo, and this is a giga banger. I'm really excited for this set to happen. I need this set to happen because you have Cola 6-6 against Luis, and you have Raflo 21 and 19 against Flo. So both of these guys are going 50-50 with their respective character rep. I don't think the matchup is swinging into either character's favor. It is just going to be an absolute banger. I have no idea who's going to win, though. Like, genuinely no idea who's going to win. So I am just going to go with the cop-out answer and say that Sonics is going to beat both of them. Low-key, though, I think both these players have a very good chance against Sonics. And by very good, I mean like 55-45, maybe 60-40 for Raffalo, just because he doesn't have as much experience in the matchup. But they definitely can pull off the upset. I just don't think either of them will pull off the upset. And it's too close of a matchup for me to decide. I'm sorry. Next up is going to be Hurt versus the Buzz, and this should be a really close matchup. The Buzz has looked way better in 2025. He's got a 5th place at LMBM. I think he got like a 2nd at Frosty Fausting as well. He's just been looking super clean in these recent events, and I think the Buzz is one of the best players in the world against Snake. Not only just because of the way he plays at a very slow and patient, calculated tempo, but he also plays Min and Rosalita and Olimar, which are all amazing choices into that character. Now, with all of that being said, I still think that Hurt is going to win this one. He's won his last encounter against the Buzz at Supernova, and also form-wise, he has just been a lot more consistent, but that should be a very close set. Speaking of close sets, you have Lima Luis coming up immediately after that, and that's going to be one of the closest sets that you literally can just have. If you look at Lima and Luis's most recently played games, they literally are just trading back and forth constantly, but you do have Luis winning that most recent one, so by the record, by the numbers, you should have Lima coming out on top here. But also, I'm just going to go with Lima because form-wise, I think he has been quite exceptional recently. He doesn't have an amazing LMBM, but prior to that, he gets a win at GSM, has been looking super clean in all these big events that he has been entering. So has Luis, to his credit, but I'm still going to be going with Lima to win that one. Then you're going to have Hurt versus Lima, and this is a really difficult matchup for Bayonetta. If a Bayo player is going to win it, though, it is going to be Lima. He does not let his opponent just run him over. He is very patient. He waits for his opportunities, and he doesn't force the narrative. And because of that, I don't think there's going to be so many times where Hurt is pulling off a crazy reversal on him, or he's hitting a grenade on mistake. I think Lima's going to play it very carefully, but he also has to play a lot more than Hurt, if that makes sense. Like, he has to put in more work in the neutral than Hurt does. Like, a lot more work in the neutral, and a lot more work in the advantage, and just more work in pretty much every single thing that he's doing. So because of that, I do think that Hurt is going to win, but Lima definitely can win. And then finally, you're going to have Sonics versus Hurt, who have actually never played before, which is very, very surprising for me to just figure it out today, but they never played before, and because of that, I do think that Hurt is going to come out on top. There's a lot of very high-level Sonic players in Japan, and while they're not on the level of Sonics, I think that Hurt is going to be very, very experienced in that matchup, and there is some high-level players in America talking about Snake, but they are nowhere near the level of Hurt, versus players like Taikei and Ken, who are not close to Sonic's level, but definitely closer to Sonic's level than any of the NA players are to Hurt's level, especially with like Apollo Kage taking a really big step back in 2024. We'll talk about him second though, but yeah, because of that, I think Hurt's experience is going to get him over the edge in this matchup, but it should be a banger. I'm honestly surprised we've never seen it. Next up is going to be Akola versus Apollo Kage, and they have played before, and Akola did win, but Apollo Kage took him all the way to Game 5, made it extremely close. I do think that Snake does extremely well against Steve, going at least even in the matchup, but with all of that being said, Apollo Kage has taken a little bit of a step back recently for a competitive Smash Ultimate, and because of that, I don't think he's going to be at his A game, and you need to be on like your S game in order to take a set off Akola, so I do expect Akola to win that one. Then you're going to have Shiny Mark versus Zomba, and I think that Shiny Mark is going to make the upset here, simply just because I think Rob Pikachu is a miserable matchup for Rob. It is just so easy for Pika to get his hands on you, and then you are actually just screwed. Now, I do think Zomba is decent at the matchup. He definitely knows how to play it, played who is out, so it's definitely not unthinkable for him to win this one. And if Zomba wins this one, I think that he would likely get the upset over Akola, except if Akola brings out Aegis, because it's a scary matchup for Rob, but I don't think the Aegis is going to come up for Akola in any matchups aside from Spargo. Maybe at this point it would come out against Sonics. I kind of hope it would, but I think the Aegis is probably just specifically for Spargo. So Zomba doesn't have to worry about that. I think he would beat Akola Steve, but he's unfortunately not going to get the opportunity because I do think that Shiny Mark is going to take the upset. Then we have Akola versus Shiny Mark, and I don't think that Shiny Mark is going to make that upset. I think Pikachu does decent against Steve, specifically just because T-Jolts are able to ride up the walls. So you're able to continue pressuring him even when a wall is up, but he doesn't have many ways, or really any ways, to break the blocks super efficiently. You still have to be really worried about things like Minecart and Anvil. You are going to be a lightweight character, and I feel like that Pikachu advantage state, you just have to be a lot more careful, a lot more tepid, because Steve has such strong call-out tools. You also have Quick Attack not being as good because, you know, Minecart can just go in the right direction, and if you went to the right as Pikachu, Steve is going to end up being correct. So there's a lot of reasons why I think the matchup isn't amazing for Pikachu. It's definitely winnable, though. Shiny Mark can pull it off. I just don't think he is going to necessarily. Next up is going to be Jazzo versus Shootone, and I would definitely expect Shootone to win this one. I just feel like Aegis would be a really smothering character for Ken to deal with. Mythra is not only fast with frame data, but she also has multi-hits or moves that she can just throw a second time in order to break Ken's focus, so he just doesn't have any defensive tools there to get her off of him, and I just feel like it's really hard for him to start engagements in general. Now, to Jazzo's credit, I think he's been playing unbelievably recently. One of the most improved players of 2024, but I don't think that is going to be enough to justify me picking him over Shuto. Then you're going to have MKLeo versus Ken, and they haven't played since, I believe the last time they played was at Umabora SP11. No, it was not even at that. The last time they ended up playing was at a local, and you did have Leo going Joker in those encounters. Some of them he ended up losing, some of them he ended up winning, and I expect Joker to be the character that he ends up going against Ken here. The reason that I bring this up is because people in the past have said, like, oh, he should go Aegis because Aegis is a better matchup into Sonic. Joker is horrible into Sonic. He should go Meta Knight. Meta Knight's a better choice. But I think people are just really dramatic about how bad Joker does into Sonic. It's definitely not a matchup where I think Joker wins, but I could see the character at least holding his own. You've got tools like Gun, you've got disjoints like Nair. Yeah, Nair is a small one as well, but it's an amazing call-out tool if you are able to hit it. Same thing with Down Air as well. You have the tools as the Joker player to be able to operate against Sonic. It's just extremely difficult to do so. You have to be playing with maximum precision in pretty much everything that you're doing. You got to get value out of Arsene because the Sonic player is just going to be running away from you half the time that you have it. So that one hit that you get, if you get it, you have to find value from. Basically, I'm saying that I think Leo's going to play Joker here. It's going to be an uphill battle, but with precision, this is a matchup that you can win, and I think that MK Leo is going to win it. And he after does all that work just to lose to Shootone right after, because Leo has still yet to take, I think, even a game off Shootone in Smash Ultimate. Yeah, he has not taken a game off Shootone in Smash Ultimate. They've ended up playing 4 times before, so of course I'm going to expect Shootone to win this set. But who knows? If you could win the Sonic matchup with Joker, maybe you could finally take a game off Shootone, at least a step in the right direction. Then you're going to have Shootone versus Akola, and Akola, like 90% of the time, maybe higher than that at this point, comes out on top in this matchup, so I just expect him to do the same here. And our final top seed is going to be Mia. His first set is going to be up against Umeki, and this is just such an uphill battle for Umeki. I don't believe he's ever taken a set off Mia, and I don't know if he ever will, because that matchup is miserable for Peach. So yeah, I do think that Mia is going to win that one. Then you're going to have Gluttony versus Pocket, and I think Gluttony is going to be upset here. I think Pocket is going to pull that one off. Now, Gluttony has been playing a lot of Link recently, and that's not a bit. He has been playing a lot of Link, and it's not impossible to think the Link could come out against Steve. I actually think Link does decent against Steve. You're really good at breaking the blocks. I think you get a ton of value out of Bomb in that matchup. The bad mobility of Link really isn't that big of a deal because, like, Steve's is worse. There's a lot of things in the matchup that are pretty decent for Link, but I don't know if Gluttony's Link is going to be ready or if he's even going to try it. He probably won't even try it at an event as prestigious as Genesis. He's been playing Wario against Steve, and he has been more successful in his recent encounters against Crepsole, to his credit, so he's definitely been working on the matchup, but it's just a really tough matchup for Wario. You don't have a lot of great ways to break the blocks. You're not able to get the value that you normally get out of Wario's shift just because Steve's advantage state doesn't really work like most characters' advantage state. He kind of just true combos you and then either kills you or hits you really, really far away where he's no longer able to follow up on it. He doesn't ever just, like, juggle you with up airs or keep you in the disadvantage state. That's just not how the character operates, and because of that, you don't really get the value from Wario's drift that you normally do. It's the same thing in approaching as well. Like, oh, I'm approaching with so much ambiguity, but Steve is, like, standing next to a wall, so there's, like, a limited amount of range where you can really approach from as Wario. And because of all those things, plus just Steve out disjointing him, it's a really tough matchup. I do think that Pocket is going to take it. Then you're going to have Pocket versus Mia, and you have Mia winning their only 2 encounters. Now, those were a while ago, but I think Mia has gotten exponentially better, and Pocket's definitely gotten better, but Mia's gotten, like, best player in the world better. He's got a ton of experience versus Akola. He should be favored in this one. Next up is going to be Light versus Kananabe, and kind of the exact same thing I said earlier for Sonics and Taike. If there's any Fox player in the world playing against Light, I'm going to assume that Light is going to win that one. Now, to Kananabe's credit, they have played before, and it was really close at Port Priority, but I still think that Light is going to win that one. He also won at Port Priority. Then you're going to have Snow versus Siski, and this should be a pretty close set. I do think that Mario is slightly favored against Samus. The out-of-shield game for Samus can be pretty annoying, but Mario is definitely better in the boxing, and you also have Cape, which is, like, a really strong tool in that matchup. Charge Shot is just nowhere near as big of a threat as it normally is because you can just take that thing away, all of a sudden your neutral tool that kills me at 90% no longer does that. And in fact, it kills you at 50%. So it just makes Samus a lot more tepid in her normal game plan, which is the exact thing that you want as a Mario player. Then you're going to have Light versus Snow, and this should be a very close set. I honestly really want this set to happen because I feel like it would be a banger, and I don't know who would come out on top. I don't think it's super favored in either character's favor. It should be a very scrappy match, and because of that, I am going to be slightly favoring Light here. He's just like probably the best player in the world when it comes down to those scrappy in-your-face situations. He's so fast, he's got so much experience, and his character does really, really good in them. Now, you could say pretty much all those things about Snow as well, but I do think that Light is just slightly better in this scenario. But again, really, really excited to see this set. Hope that it happens. Then you're going to have Mia versus Light, and I would expect Light to win this one just because he's got such an amazing record against Mia, pretty much beating him in all of their recent encounters, despite the matchups being really bad against both Game & Watch and Steve. And this isn't like a new thing. Light's been really good against Mia for quite some time at this point. I feel like it's just a player versus player, and because of that, I am going to be picking Light to win this one. I'm very curious to see what homework Mia has done coming into this event, because it has been a while since he's played Light. He better have done some homework. It should be a good set, but I think it's one where Light wins. And y'all know the drill at this point. We don't do the loser side of the bracket just because the majority of these matchups aren't going to happen. So I've taken the players that are most likely to top 8, and we have given them the percentages. You're going to have the confidence here with Spargo, Hurt, Cola, and Light. Those are the guys that picked the top 8 winner side. Then you have somewhat confident with Mia, Stalin, Speedman, Paul, and Shootone. And those are the guys that picked the top 8 to the loser side of the bracket. Specifically, Shootone's going to get top 8 through this normal part of the bracket right here. For all of these possible opponents, I think the only one that I would favor against Shootone would be Cola. But Cola has to get through Lima first, which I think is a pretty tough matchup for him. And that's if he ends up beating Raffalo, which, as I said, is a very close 50-50. Could I go into either player's favor? So because there's so many variables that stop Cola from getting to Shootone, and I think Shootone would be probably everyone else, I am going to be having him as the person to move on here. But if Cola gets here, I do favor him in that head-to-head. Then you're going to have Mia getting top 8 through this part of the bracket right here. Honestly, doesn't matter which opponent you send at him. It could be Ken, it could be Crep Soleil, it could be Reru. I don't think it's going to be Shiny Mark, because Shiny Mark I think is going to beat Zamba, but it could be Shiny Mark. It don't matter. Mia is just going to win pretty much all of those encounters. Unless your name is like Light, Acola, or Spargo, you just probably aren't going to be beating Mia. Then you're going to have, who did I have getting a top 8 through that part of the bracket? You're going to have Beast Mode Paul actually getting top 8 through this part of the bracket right here, because as I said, I think Beast Mode Paul is going to make this top 8 qualifier, at least in the winner side. I have confidence in him to do so, and once he gets to this top 8 qualifier in the loser side, his most likely opponents are Snow, Luis, Glutony, Raffo, and I think he does extremely well against all of those opponents. Raffo is probably the toughest one there, maybe Luis as well, just because I think Palutena does really well into hero. But if he gets either Snow or Glutony, he's getting 2 brawler archetypes that hit with their face. Snow's going to be on Mario, or not Mario, on the language of Japan, so he obviously can't read the menu as well, so that is going to be a big advantage into his favor. I think if he gets either Glutony or so, Beast Paul is going to get himself into that top 8, and those are the most likely outcomes. And then finally, you're going to have Sonic getting top 8 through this part of the bracket right here. And I will say it's kind of a shame that we have Sonic to this part of the bracket right here, just as like as our guarantee. That's absolutely the guy that I'm going to be picking, because that's absolutely the guy I'm going to be picking, because look how juicy this part of the bracket is. I have Beast Paul losing, or Tweak rather, losing to Beast Paul. So this is going to be MK Leo versus Tweak, and then this is going to be Shiny Mark versus T. And then you have those 4 players, and one of them fights off against Sonics. Like, that is the most juicy bracket that you could possibly ask for. And I just think Sonics comes out on top in all those encounters, so obviously I'm going to be picking him. But I just wanted to talk about the possibility that we could have here of the just amazing quality of matches. But everyone else, you got Tweak, you got Leo, Zomba, Shiny Mark, Gluto, Snow, T, Ken, Crep Soleil, Raffalo, Lima, Cola, Siski, Pocket, Luis, Riddles, Toraguri, Taike, and DeBuzz. Maybe I forgot a player or two, but basically, these are the people that you are going to see in top 8. And if you see anyone else is like a miracle run, they pulled off something unbelievable, or maybe just the brackets happen to be very nice to them, because this is a very stacked tournament. It's going to be super hard to get into that top 8. And speaking of top 8, let's talk about it. And we have finally arrived at the top 8. As always, this lovely graphic was made by Memorization. His link will be down below, so be sure to check him out. Sub while you're down there. Use code ProofBlock too. I forgot to say that at the start. But our first matchup in the winner side is going to be Spargo versus Hurt. And since that initial set, 2 sets I should say, at Battle of BC where he had Hurt winning, Spargo has been very dominant in their head-to-heads, aside from this one I should say, at the Throne 2, where you do have Hurt managing to take it to Game 5. Hurt has just been coming out, or Spargo I should say, has been coming out on top every single time they played, including 2 sets played at LM BM. So I do think that Spargo is also going to win this set. Not even talking about the matchup, just player to player, but matchup, I also think it's not that great for Snake. You got moves like back air and forward air where you can hit Snake and the grenade without taking the explosion as Cloud. So it's just like double disadvantage for the Snake player. And Spargo absolutely knows how to space around that in order to get those perfect timing. So I do think that he is going to win this one. Unless Hurt goes crazy on the edge guarding in this set, Spargo's got pretty much everything in his court. Then you're going to have Akola versus Light. And you do have Akola with a Rin Recognizer, yes, but they haven't played since 2023. And I think Light is going to win this set. Light is one of the best players, if not honestly the best player against Steve in the entire world. He is so good at baiting Minecart. He is so good at baiting Anvil. He's by far the best at doing those two things specifically. He just hasn't played Akola in so long. We honestly have no idea how he's actually going to do. Akola might just jab him 9 times and 0 to death him, and it could just be that. Or he might never land a hit on Light because he just has such high mobility, plays the matchup so extremely well. We could even see the Aegis come out here for Akola. Again, I don't think that's going to happen just because I'm pretty sure that's a Spargo only thing, and also like Steve does great into Fox, but I guess it's something that we can't completely rule out at this point. It's definitely an uphill battle for Light, but it's an uphill battle that he has usually been winning. So next up is going to be Beast Mode Paul versus Sonics, and I do think that Sonics is going to win this one. This is a matchup that you can win as hero, but you need to get lucky. Like, RNG is actually important for this matchup in order for you to actually be able to disrupt Sonic in the neutral. So because of that, I do think that Sonics is going to win this one. And even with perfect RNG, you still have to have like the best timing, the perfect decision making in order to actually catch Sonics off guard. So it's just a really tough encounter for Beast Mode Paul. He doesn't have any time to set up his spells that he wants. Then you're going to have Shoe Tone against Mia. And prior to looking at their, recent history, I would say easy win for Mia. He's been so dominant. But if you look at their recent history, you have Shuton winning their last 2 encounters, including at Subageki 18 with a 3-0 in Shuton's favor, all Almar, against both the Steve and the Game & Watch. So because of that, that gives me a lot of faith in Shuton, and I am going to be going with him to win this one, especially since he just needed the Olimar to take it out. He has the Aegis in the pocket. I doubt the Aegis is going to come out because obviously he's found success recently with Olimar, and I also think Olimar is pretty good into both of Mia's characters. Not necessarily a winning matchup, especially against Steve, just because like you die instantly, but you have the tools to fight back. You hit incredibly hard. That lightweight of Game Watch is something that Olimar absolutely exploits, and Shuton's looking like he's figured something out recently. I'm curious if it covers over to Genesis. Next up is going to be Akola versus Sonics, and this is one of those situations where I just have to see it to believe it, and I haven't seen Akola get that big win over Sonics yet, and because of that, I am going to be picking Sonics to win this one. But I think Akola can pull it off on the Steve. I think he can pull it off on the Aegis. He's probably going to pull it off on the Steve if I had to guess. I feel like we would have seen the Aegis a lot more just in general if he was actually using it as a counter pick option instead of like a counter player option, which he does against Spargo. But I hope we get to see the Aegis at least try, so at least I have the question answered of, okay, is this a tool he's going to use against Sonic? I mean, if he doesn't pull it out, then I guess the answer is obviously no. But you either go into a losing matchup with Steve Sonic, or you go into an even matchup where that guy is super experienced and you're also just way worse at the character. So it's a really tough situation for Akola to be in. He's going to have to make the right decision, and even if he makes the right decision on the select screen, it doesn't mean he's going to come out with a dub, because Sonic is still Sonic at the end of the day. Then you're going to have Hurt versus Shuton, and this should be a very close set. Hurt and Shuton have been going back and forth. You do have Hurt winning their last 2 encounters in the grand finals of a major event, but even in that event, you have Shuton getting a win over him. It's almost assuredly going to be Olimar in this set, and I'm gonna be going with Shuton to win this one just because I think he's gonna be coming into this event extremely hot. If you look at his recent events, that's a win, and most importantly, he's got a win at an S tier as well as a 2nd place at an S plus. He has just been killing it recently, so I think Shuton is gonna ride that high into a win over Hurt. So we've got our top 4, Spargo Light in the winner's side and Sonic Shuton in the loser side, starting off with Spargo versus Light. And this is like really interesting because you have Spargo, or Light rather, winning their last encounter at LACS Rivals, but prior to that, it was just a sea of red for, I guess, Light's perspective here, getting not mollywopped by Spargo, but losing every single set that he would go up against him decisively in Spargo's favor. And because of that, I am going to be picking Spargo again to win this one. I know that Light won at LACS Rivals, but I feel like that was probably more so Light just playing really good at LACS Rivals, or maybe Spargo not being on his A game, or maybe a combination of the both, and Light actually figuring Spargo out and saying, oh, here's what I was doing wrong in all those sets. This is just what I need to do. It's just one little fix, all I needed, and I'm being the best player in the world. I don't think that's going to be the situation here, so unless Light has figured out something monumental, I do think that Spargo should take that one. Then you're going to have Sonics versus Shootone, and you have Shootone beating Sonics in their last 3 encounters, twice at Riptide and once at Coinbox IRL. And I know there is nothing that has made Sonics angrier, maybe ever. This guy hates losing so much. He actually adapts so fast to a player after he loses that initial set that I'm surprised Shootone honestly got the set at Coinbox IRL. But because he did, it gives me so much confidence that Sonics is going to win this set, because there is nothing else in the entire world that Sonics wants to do right now more than beat Shootone. Maybe win a major too. In the losers finals, you're going to have Light versus Sonics, and this one's pretty interesting because Sonics has been doing a lot better against Light in the recent encounters, winning 3 of the last 5. But with that in mind, I still think that Fox is probably Sonic's hardest matchup, even matchup by the way, and Light is one of the best players in the world up against Sonics, and I'm going to be favoring Light to win this one just because I feel like if they meet at this point in the bracket, Light is going to have to be playing extremely well. I mean, everyone that gets in the top 8 of Genesis is playing extremely well, but when Light is on his A game, his S game even, I think he's got a really good shot against Sonics because he controls the tempo a lot better. He hits a lot harder, and when Light is controlling tempo, even against a character like Sonic, it can be impossible to slow him down. So I'm going to be saying that Light should win this one. Honestly, should be a very close set, though. Also, Light was ranked higher than Sonics. I didn't even think about that. So really, this should be a free win for number 4 over number 5. And then finally, you are going to have Spargo versus Light. And unfortunately for Light, this is going to be number 1 over number 4. And I think that the Grand Finals run back is going to be pretty similar to that Winners Finals with Spargo coming out on top. I have Spargo winning Genesis. Is anyone surprised? No, of course not. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this sport. It's been absolutely unreal as of late. If there's anything I left out, got wrong, or if you want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.